Hi, I'm Adam Jennings, and this is Awaiting Approval, a podcast about the messy human side of creative leadership. Today, I'm joined by Hema Meta, VP Content Design at RackBank, for a relaxed, two-way conversation about her journey, the lessons she's learned, and what it takes to lead with creativity and honesty. Hema, hi, welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi, nice to meet you.
Likewise, I'm looking forward to this one. To get us to know you a little bit better, if we were meeting in person to record this today, where would you suggest we meet and what would you order to drink?
My order for a drink would probably be something icy. I don't really like hot drinks. I like my hot coffee at room temperature, which is maybe controversial. So maybe an iced latte with almond milk. And because of my new location, I prefer to be out and about. So because I've moved to the UAE recently, we've just done a year in Dubai. A beach walk would be a great place to meet. Probably not brilliant for the sound, but maybe the sound of the sea would be like a soothing background effect that would complement our conversation.
I love that. And I will raise a metaphorical room temperature almond milk coffee as we walk along the beach and to cheer you on with this conversation. To continue to get to know a little bit more about you, is there something, sorry, now the dog is scratching, noise is off. To get to know a little bit more about you, is there something that you either have with you where you are right now or your usual kind of work setup that you could show us or tell us about that gives a little bit more indication of who you are and how you work?
Yes. So I think who I am and how I work are two little bit different vibes. I like to have quite an organized workstation. I have the luxury of having not a hot desk, which I got used to in the UK. So I've kind of I have an organizational kind of layout for how I like to work, where my mouse goes, where I have a desk phone, where the desk phone sort of sits. I've got a stationery section. I've even got a tray with my tea, coffee, malarkey on it as well. And it kind of, I have a sense of this is my space, which I like. And then from a personal perspective, I'm going to pan over a little bit to show you my lamp. It's one of my favorite things in the
Wow.
world, apart from my child, of course. And if you can see in the background, I've got some kind of Indian style pop art. Because my background is Indian, my personal interior style is very much kind of, I guess, a modern Indian vibe, which is something that I have really lent into in the last few years because I was trying to find what my style was in general. I think that goes with work, general life, clothing, everything. But from an interior perspective, that's very much me.
Mm. That's a beautiful lamp, and for those listening to the audio only version, I encourage you to go to YouTube to get that to get the glimpse of it because it looks very intricate, but also calming in a way, much like the walk on the beach. The shape of it and the shape of the pattern on there seems very calming. I love the idea that your workstation is just so that you have you have a home for everything. I think you said like it felt like a sort of home from home, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's something that's also part of how I organize my house, my life in general. It might have come from childhood trauma of living with hoarders who were very kind of messy and unorganized. And, opening a kitchen cabinet was potluck for anything. Is it in date? Is it out of date? Do you know where it is? What is it? So I've kind of gone the opposite way. So I'm one of those people who has labels on things and baskets for certain things as well. But it from my kind of, it's a user experience is where I'm coming from. It's like, how do I use the product? Where does it live? Why do I need it? So I organize specifically probably kitchen or cabinets, and having a child also helps with that because you need to be able to access things. They need to be usable and you need to find them like at a moment's notice. So it's something that does calm me, actually. It makes me feel that I have somewhat control over all these things that you kind of pick up over time in your life, and I'm making reference to children, but children come with lots of things attached to them as they go through the ages, especially when they're smaller. So it's something that I found almost became somewhat of my identity, I think. And I think it helps me to feel like I've got a site map of my house in my head.
As someone who shares that childhood experience, I understand fully. And so there's, for me, there is not just a sense of control because everything is in its place, but there's an order to it. There's a structure, which I find calming, having grown up in the chaos of
Yeah.
no structure and, piles of things and what have you. So to know, oh, okay, yeah, that's where my pens are, and that's where the storage device is, and that's where the lamp is, and then to come back the next day and it's all there,
Yeah.
is a really sort of grounding thing, I think. So I get it completely. I have to say, I'm also one who I like to line things up so edges of things are parallel with each other, and sort of almost like a sort of semi-exploded bento box on the desk of pens and mouse and keyboard and mug and everything. So I get that completely, and I appreciate you sharing that with us as well. Thank you. Um, I'd love to look at your career. You're currently VP Content Design at Rackbank. If we go right back to the beginning of your career, could you take us through bullet points? Don't have to hit sort of everything, but kind of key milestones from the moment you started out on this journey to where you are today.
Yeah, I think so. I always wanted to feel comfortable in a creative environment. And I say this because I don't feel like I felt comfortable in my life in general. So I didn't feel like I was artistic enough to be an artist. And I wasn't, and maybe that's kind of internalized fear of being, trying or experimenting, and feeling confident enough to do creative type tasks or just be creative in general. Um, and so I very much preferred that environment. It was also somewhere that I found wasn't hyper focused on perfectionism. So if you're looking at things like being a lawyer or something in finance, it was all something that the accuracy level seemed to be really high, and it was something that I always found quite daunting. So the creative space was somewhere that I wanted to be surrounded, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Content wasn't something that was like, I want to write content. It wasn't something that was, I think, even a thing back then. Um, so I actually started out as being a content editor in an editing system that needed to go through a sprint release at the time. So it was it wasn't particularly creative, but it was very structured. It was my first job in digital that one of my friends asked me to come and join her team. She saw that I had transferable skills and said, yeah, you can do this job easy, no problem. So I gave it a go. And from there, I walked into what I would say is the foundation of my experience that I have today. So that was, when was I don't remember the year, but it was, I joined Orange Mobile, which then went on a very long journey of transformation. So Orange joined T-Mobile, and Orange became like a sub entity called Everything Everywhere, which then went into becoming the brand that you know today, which is EE. So I think I spent 8 or 9 years there, and worked my way through I went from being a content editor to doing sprint planning, which is not particularly creative, but is creative in terms of problem solving, and trying to make things work and trying to be agile when agile was fairly newish back then. And then went into back into kind of doing content editing and became a content producer. And it was a very much kind of trial and error scenario of, I think I know what I'm doing. I understand how the systems work, but in terms of when you're looking at content design, it wasn't really a practice that was in practice back then. We were trying to do e-com content. The objective was we need to sell stuff to people, and UX was slowly building around us, but we were using agencies at the time because it wasn't brand new, but I think it just wasn't a common skill set that you would find in large corporations, which is why agency were thriving at that time, especially helping companies such as large corporations go through transformation, transforming their brand, their web real estate, all of that type of stuff. So it was a very exciting time, lots and lots and lots of things going on and lots of things to learn along the way. And while I was sort of muddling my way through doing the kind of usual, people that work in telco, like phone launches of like Apple flagship, Samsung flagship, that kind of thing. I realized that I'm not the best IC in the world. I realized that actually what I like to do is help people do their jobs in the best way possible. So I was surrounded by brilliant people and found that they were often not managed very well. And I didn't know what management was back then. I didn't know what team leadership was. I didn't know what coaching was. But I knew from my own personal experience that I hadn't been in that environment. I hadn't been managed in a way that I think where I felt like I was coached. I didn't feel that I was in a position where I was nurtured. And I was always wondering, well, what does it mean to be what does it mean to be a leader? What does it mean to be strategical? What does it mean to be all these kind of buzzwords? And there was little to no explanation of it. But often the explanation was, see that person over there, be more them. It's like, great. So I'm basically being told that I need to copy someone else's style. And I don't even know what that means. Like I have different backgrounds, different everything, So trying to figure it out was one of my, life's big question marks. And what I did find was when I was given the opportunity to lead a team that I was actually originally part of, the world suddenly started to make sense. And I had, you can be in an experience where when you're part of the team, you start to manage them, it can go a little bit Pete Tong because people are like, well, who do you think you are now? You're this, that, and the other, or they might not like you, or there might be jealousy. I was very fortunate that I had none of that. I had a really, really lovely team of people, and all they wanted to do was do good work, and all I wanted to do was help them. And so we did that for a few years, and it was really, really brilliant from a me perspective because I felt finally fulfilled. I felt like I had purpose. I felt like I had kind of arrived at my first job. Like this is what I'm meant to do. And I think that the response that I got from my team, they felt seen, they felt valued, and they felt that they were, they had the autonomy to do their best work possible. So that was kind of I think my biggest career turning point, which created that avenue of I want to be a content or UX leader, and that was the point which led me to where I am today. And if I think back when we were doing content back then, this is again before I guess content design was kind of just emerging, and I hadn't heard of it, and UX was really coming into play. We were starting to get people, UX designers, UX architects, UX writers actually coming into the company as actual employees. And a lot of people didn't understand the difference of what my team does, what UX does, what we're here, what's the difference, why is there a difference, etc. I realized, I guess, that what my team were doing was UX writing, was content design. So after EE, because I'd been there for such a long time, I wanted to try something different. I've seen a lot of colleagues come and go, and they were having, different experiences in different companies. So I thought I would do the same. One of the, and I thought it would be easy. I thought, I'm going to leave EE. I'm going to find an amazing job. I'm going to be brilliant. And everything's just going to be so cool. And it really wasn't. What I hadn't given enough thought to was that I'd been out of practice of interviewing for eight odd years, that I hadn't really got a grasp of the job market properly. I didn't really know how to position myself. I didn't know how to market myself. So I found myself actually quite stuck and having to think about what my personal brand was again. And I think I'd taken it all as as almost like I've got this feeling that I know that I can do things, and I know inside my head that I'm really good at being an EE, but I didn't know how to then position that or communicate that properly when I went outside into the big wide world. So when I went out, I had to I not rebrand myself, but I had to. It took some time to get my next role. So I went to agency to give that a go, and I was working again with Samsung, which was helpful because it was comfort zone. It was real estate that I recognised, and agency life was pretty hard because I didn't give enough thought to what it would be like to work with clients. I'd always been working client side. I'd never really worked with clients, and there is a certain type of persona that you need to work in an agency. One of the big learnings is I don't have that persona. So even though I really enjoyed my time there, and I was on familiar ground and I could do the work, it was also heading into COVID. I think I was in that role for about 6 months and then COVID hit. So um, and even now, when I think back about COVID, it feels like a bit of a blur. I know it was a couple of years worth of working from home and just not being around people and all of that type of stuff and all of the horrific things that happened. It was almost, for me, it was a pause in my life, because before, well, my last year in E and then moving on to my next role, I had my son Indy. So I'd gone back to work. COVID hit 6 months later and I was home again. So I was kind of on maternity leave extended. I felt like I had like a year and a half to 2 years worth of maternity leave because I was always at home. So it, even though COVID was really harsh for a lot of people, from my personal experience, it was something um, that was fairly pleasant in that way because of my child. And pleasant probably isn't the right word, but I think it was something that worked really well for me. It worked really well for our household, but it worked really well in terms of my child having more time with me that I would never been able to afford. So it's a very, low key good story from COVID, because there's plenty of horror stories out there. So after I'd kind of worked from home, went through the whole COVID scenario with everyone, had to figure out how to meet people again face to face, how to travel to work again, and how to be a real person. So after working at an agency, I went to work at a startup, Kazoo. And Kazoo was a brilliant funded idea that was to get your car delivered to your house. So you could actually sell your car online and have it collected from your home, or you can buy your car online and have it delivered to your home. So the concept was great. It was a really creative, cool environment. Unfortunately, very quickly after starting, the company went through quite a few rounds of redundancies. I think that my redundancy came on maybe batch 4 or 5, but it was a place that, had it survived, would have been an amazing product environment to learn and grow in. And what I ended up doing was basically constant restructuring based on the layoffs that were happening quarterly. So it was a survival mode in a way, and it was just seeing how many rounds you were going to survive. And it was emotionally quite draining because you were losing people every quarter. You didn't see it coming, although you should have seen it coming, and it was just relentless. So the first few months I started were brilliant, met loads of fabulous people, had a really great content design team. Everything was going swimmingly. And then slowly but surely everything started to reduce, and having to manage the it was, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it. It was almost like, right, here you go, here's a change, now deal with this and fix it and make it work. So it was that every quarter. So I don't remember, I can't say that we did anything because we didn't have anything that we could do in those 3 months, that kind of cyclical time period. So we were just trying to mend what was left and carry on. And then mend what was left again and then carry on. So there isn't an awful lot you can do when you're in that situation. But I had a really great line manager. I had two really great line managers, actually. And the support with the people around. And I met Vanessa, who you have on your podcast, who's become a really great friend. And I met some amazing content people and amazing UX people, and we're all kind of still in contact today. It's almost like it was an environment where you could be yourself. You could definitely bring yourself to work. It was super creative. It had everything that you'd expect from a startup environment. There was so much autonomy there. There was so much creativity there, and not just from creative people, not just from the UX people. The creativity from engineers or from the commercial teams, or all of that working together holistically, was such an amazing thing to see. And is often something that a lot of companies will crave to have, but they never quite get it right. And they really had it right there. And people had such an emotional connection to that company when it was thriving, that they are still very much emotionally connected to the people that they met there to this day. And my main emotional connection was Vanessa. We connected through layoff trauma, and we were both head of UX at the time, and we found a really beautiful friendship, and one of my best friendships that I have to this day. So I'm really grateful for that. After Kazoo, I did a short stint at Checkatrade. I was interim head of UX there. And it was the first role after a really long time where I just felt very safe and felt like I knew my place, and I kind of felt like a home. Had a really lovely team. And Checkatrade were going through, again, a huge amount of change. They were trying to optimize, transform, all that type of stuff. And team had been through, I think, a few management changes or lack of manager, and they were a little bit all over the place. So I had to, I guess, fix that, and brought them together, helped them work together, helped to shape them, helped them to feel that they knew what their purpose was while all this change was going on around them. And it was really fulfilling because it felt really easy. I just felt really comfortable and really at home with everyone, with the teams that were there, and what they were trying to achieve. It's not a huge company, so it has that kind of closeness vibe, and that people do know each other really well, and they know everyone's roles really well, and they know the humans around them, what they do, and what everyone is here to do at the same time. So again, I met a really nice bunch of UX people there, and they really helped to make my life easier, and I really hope that I helped to make their lives easier for the short time that I was there. And then I came here, so which is in Dubai. Here is Dubai. So my husband and I had we had a idea, maybe we should move to Dubai. Let's give it a go. And I think it was just like, how are we even going to do that? It was I wish that I think both of us just wanted something completely different. And so I said, look, why don't we just look into this and see if it's a viable option? I went to Thailand on holiday with my best friend, and I broke my ankle there. and had had double surgery on it. Had surgery on it in Thailand. Came back to the UK. Had surgery on it again. And while I was lying in my bed convalescing and had nothing else to do, I applied for a role. And it was one of those LinkedIn easy applies that had already had couple of hundred applicants. I just thought, look, I can do this job. Let's see what happens. So I did it, and I interviewed, and I got the job. So I arrived in Dubai a year ago on crutches, and we've set up our lives here. And this is now, I guess, another reshaping of my career. So I'm in a role where content design is pretty low key in terms of where people understand what the value is. And I'm learning that even though I've been in this kind of environment before, in different previous companies that I've worked at, you can kind of, if you've worked in a corporate environment, you can recognize the corporate characters, the systems at play, the processes, lack of processes, all of that type of stuff. You've seen it before, right? So it's all there, but it just because it's all there doesn't mean that it's easy, and it doesn't mean that it's going to come naturally, and it doesn't mean that you're going to boss it straight out the gate. So there's definitely been a lot of learnings and a lot of getting used to, and there still is every day. As the company that I'm in now is also going through a transformation. So again, been through all of those a few times, but finding my place and my voice here is something that has been my challenge for this role. So and that's a work in progress, and I think it's going well, and I've got a really good team.
There's so much to unpack there. There's so many moments that feel so important, and I really appreciate you taking us through that. First of all, and most importantly, how's your ankle?
My ankle's all right. It's a bit of a swollen mess, and it's got a couple of juicy scars on it. But it's I don't need crutches anymore, so I'm okay. But it's I'm still trying to figure out what the life lesson I have learnt is from it. Is maybe don't go to a wellness spa in Thailand. Just go out drinking instead.
There you go. That'll be the social clip for this episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, there seems to be a theme of, and I'm breaking this down into very broad strokes, but there seems to be a recurring theme of finding yourself in a form of chaos and creating your own structure within that. And I think there is an incredible drive in that you keep mentioning these different scenarios, these different situations that you're in, where it becomes up to you to have to figure it out. Like someone saying, be more like that, be more like that, be less like that. That's not guidance, that's not helpful. And it was sort of dumped on you, and then you have to figure out what that actually means for you within that organization, and then on to the next place. What does it mean now? Because as a leader, each place is different and each team is different, and so on and so on. And so you have to kind of continually figure that out and who you are within that situation. And the the sort of lasting hell of being in a leadership position at a place that is changing every quarter and telling you that, okay, here is another set of downsizing, is which is a horrible word, because what it means is here is another group of people who, to some greater or lesser degree, are your friends. You have a working relationship with them. You see them every day. And they have
Yeah.
dependents, and now we need to let them go. And here you go and tell them. It's a hideous situation to be in if you have to do that for one person, let alone every quarter see your team get decimated again and again and again, and then the morale of those that are left. And there's often I've often encountered myself and with my team members, there's often a sense of guilt around the ones that are staying, the ones that have been saved, quote unquote,
Yeah.
that you weren't the one that was got rid of. So it's incredibly negatively impactful process that you had to navigate there. Time and time again, it feels like I say, you've found yourself in a form of unstructured chaos, for the want of a better word, and you've had to figure that out. Would that be a fair sort of summation of that?
Yeah, I think it might be the story of my life. I think it is the story of my life. I don't know if it's because I'm so used to it from growing up in a fairly traumatic Asian Indian household. Um and just having this kind of sense of this is all crazy, I need to find that sense of calm. And it's some of it maybe a trauma response or something, but yeah, it's definitely something. I feel like I'm a bit of a fixer of process and a fixer of people. I definitely have done that for most of the roles that I've taken on, for sure. um I I do enjoy it though. I do find that there's a sense of, again, that belonging and satisfaction, because more so on the people side. And maybe because I feel like I'm saving them, or maybe I'm saving the child within, who knows? But it's that sense of, look, I know that you can do your job. I know that you're really good. Do you know that you're good? Let me show you. Let me make the space for you to allow yourself to understand how good you are. And I love that. I love that. And I've loved that about every role that I've had. I think I definitely try and bring that out in people and make that space for people, because chaos pushes you, right? It pushes you to, I think it, and often it will push you to deliver. And when you're pushed to deliver, you're kind of over a barrel, and you don't feel like you're understood, or that you are allowed to express your thinking or your work, or your objection to whatever is being asked of you, because getting something over the line is the most important thing. So but yeah, it's definitely a theme. I don't think I choose it, but obviously I choose it. I do choose it. I don't think I realized it, but it's there. You know, when you watch the videos of people like, you choose your path, and like, yeah, but I didn't know. But you did know. You must have known. So it's something that yeah, it's definitely part of my life. It's definitely always been part of my life, trying to find the calm in chaos. Um, and even in my current role, it's the same thing. But I think that trying to find my own calm in the chaos has also been a really large factor, where it sometimes always is not always about me. Um so yeah, maybe I should see a therapist about that.
Maybe I'll start a second podcast, Therapy for Designers.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, I mean, from, certainly looking at your career, and from everything you're saying, and the attitude that you bring to talking about this, it clearly works for you. That's not to say that I would wish you to be stuck in any kind of trauma response loop or anything like that. But like what I'm saying is, you have the drive, to figure that out and then succeed within that. Hi. If what we're talking about in this episode is resonating with you, the challenges faced are the ones that are in front of you right now, the path they've taken is your dream career path, whatever it may be, stick around until the end of this episode to find out how you can work directly with me to level up your leadership skills. Get 30 years worth of experience downloaded into your skill set in just 4 weeks. At the same time, meet amazing other design leaders as part of your cohort. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the end. You mentioned about what you provide in terms of a space for your team, and I would love to come back to that. But you also mentioned about these places that were such a lovely team, or I think you mentioned about Kazoo being, if that had worked, was an amazing place to work, and it made me think that I can think back to places and think that place, the location and the building was my perfect location and building. This place, the team was my perfect team. This place, the work was really, really exciting, amazing work. And I don't think I've had a place where all of those factors combined. So I wonder if that were the same for you. Like, what were the pieces that were missing in those places that felt good?
Yeah, that's a really great question because you're so right. There are so many elements of the jigsaw that exist in so many places. So um, that you want to bring them all together. So if I look at Kazoo as one example, like the environment was brilliant. We had offices near King's Cross that were, I think they were an old fire station or something. So really great meeting spaces, collaboration spaces, and yeah, offices were just felt really cool to be in, and we had a rooftop garden, all of that type of stuff. But then, if you dig a little deeper, that you had huge product teams that had maybe 5 or 6 squads in each space that are not talking to each other. So, so, so you had a, a horizontal journey with multiple verticals that were not speaking to each other. And so if you're a content designer, will always look at, well, if I'm going to do this with content here, what does it mean for here and here and here? So my content designers weren't completely embedded across the squad, so they were working across, so they would see that there was a missing pattern. And I think that's a massive issue. So I would take definitely the working environment and setup from Kazoo. If you're working in a corporate environment, for me, understanding structure and organization is really important. I like to know that I can see an org chart to find people because I forget people's names. I don't know what they do, or, if it makes me understand how the machine is built from a people perspective. But also, when you're looking at how the departments are built, it also needs to make sense. So, um, when I was working there, I was so familiar with, I knew what every team does and I knew where to go for, XYZ, or I knew who to go and see about SEO or brand or whatever it was I needed. And it was really clear to everyone, people's roles, people's departments, people's structure. I loved that structure. And then in the startup, not so clear, almost a little bit, but a bit messy. And then in other places, completely bonkers. Like I have no idea who does what and where the systems join and what the systems are, etc. So, I don't think that everyone loves the corporate environment, but I like the corporate structure from that perspective. And I think that some people find it like it's restrictive, but I think because it goes back to my own personal way of understanding the user experience of a company. I always find that makes sense to me. So when I was working in Kazoo again, as an example, the startup vibe was brilliant, but also we were getting pretty big. We had a lot of people. We were on a corporate level of people, but we weren't working like a corporate, I didn't think. So you can kind of see, well, we need a bit more structure. We need a bit of planning. We need someone to be looking at the funnel of all of the KPIs and the OKRs that you're using. We're too siloed. So, but by the time I think they were going to get to that stage, we started to shrink. So, but yeah, I do agree with you. I think and this is what I was trying to say, I guess, with where I am at the moment, Rackbank. There's just so many elements of everything there. Yes, we're a big corporate, but there is a bit of a startup vibe. There's also entrepreneurship vibe and buzziness there, and they're trying to modernize themselves to be more collaborative and have collaborative spaces. So, all of the change feels like it's bringing a lot of that together.
When you when you talked about the space that you provide for a team, it was a very sort of giving, open space. Can you talk a little bit more about how you create that space and what you look for in each organization to make that space relevant for that place?
Yeah, sure. So, um, my leadership style has been born out of not being managed the way that I think I should have been managed or could have been managed. So I'm not trying to disrespect my previous people managers, but one of the things I've personally felt like I just didn't feel like I got it or that I was shown how to get it, whatever it might be. And and I mentioned this previously, but sometimes I was like, you just need to be a bit more strategical. It's like, what does that mean? Like, what the hell does that actually mean? What does what and I was like, well, do I become this person? Do I wake up one day and I'm more strategical? Do I have to learn it? Can I learn it? Is there a book? Is there, instead of just pointing at be more like them, like what the hell does this actually mean? And it was something that was a conundrum for me for quite some time. And when I got to eventually create my own strategy deck, I was like, it's just being strategical is, planning ahead. Yeah, like just thinking ahead and with a bit of vision. It's not some equation that's unachievable by anybody. It's just break it down and show me what it means. Give me examples. And I don't think I was shown that. And there was one of the key things that I remember feeling that I was being asked to be something, but not being thought about who I am as a person. So when I'm thinking about making space for people, it's not kind of going, right, I'm here, content design, we rule, get out of our way. It's nothing like that. You'll have a team, although, I might give it a go one day. You'll have a team of individuals who are so different to each other. And using my experience of not being understood, I make a point of trying to understand my individuals on an individual level. And it sounds really basic, but it's trying to personalize their experience for them. Alongside, doing the usual strategy for the team and, advocacy and blah, 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 whatever comes with the role. But making space for somebody is making sure that you understand what that space means for them. So how do they work? How do they like to work? What do you need from them? What do they need from you? All of those kind of things. And and setting up that environment for them. And it can be it's akin to bringing up children in a way, because you need to understand them. You need to help them, let them solve their own problems, let them have their own play space, and just let them, and I think that a lot of people will say, look, you need to manage your team, you need to make sure that they are following your rules, and almost veering into that dictatorship style, which is really, really not my vibe at all. I've learned a lot from people that I've managed. I've learned a lot from the younger people that are coming up into their career ladders now. And preference isn't a bad thing. Preference isn't a mood or it's not a trend. It's a voice. Having your preference and being able to express yourself um, and do your job is really important. And from my era of generation, people are like, just get on with it and do it. Maybe not with that accent, but sorry. We just get, you just get on with it. You just do what you're told. You don't have to have your environment set up like this or, all that or play in a certain way. But actually, why not? Why not? Why not leave on time? Why not make sure that you're healthy? Why not make sure that you've got time to exercise, to have a life, but to bring your best self to work? Why not? Why should I run you through the mill so much that you're scared of me? What kind of what hellscape is that? Why is that a real thing? So making space for someone is an emotional it's an emotional journey. It's a journey of building blocks of information about people, but also really importantly building trust. And it's not a management style that's for everybody. There's a lot of people that really don't they like to have a very what I'll say is maybe a professional veneer when they're managing people. My approach just isn't like that. It usually works, sometimes it doesn't work, but it's just the only way that I know how to be authentic and bring authenticity out of the people that are in my team. And it has served me really well, and it has taught me an awful lot about myself and about people. Um, and and I learn from those experiences every day.
I am 100% with you. I think it's, with it, with everything that you're saying and your approach, it resonates with me so solidly because, and I think I've said this in every episode so far, that like humans are humans, and everything we do as leaders is interacting with another human. Doesn't matter whether
Yes.
they're reporting to you, they're your leadership, they're your client, they're your client's leadership. We're all human. We all have good days and bad days. We all have little idiosyncrasies and quirks, and we all need things in specific ways. One of the first things that I teach people that come on my course is, when you've got a team, start to get to know that team and how you can communicate with them by the method that works for them.
Yeah.
It's up to you as a leader to understand, okay, this person needs things visually. So we're talking scamps, mock ups, and scribbles on bits of paper. This person needs things written out so that they can come back and refer to it over and over again. This person is more about the communication, the talking, and figuring things out by doing that. And once you understand those patterns, it becomes much easier for you to see it because they repeat themselves from people to
Yeah.
people. There are, the core of way of understanding information or obtaining information, repeats itself, and you can become practiced in that. And it might feel like that's extra work. It's not at all, because you're already doing it every single day in every single interaction you have. It's just you're not paying attention to it until this point, till you start to do it and you start to practice it. So I love that. I really love that answer. And I really appreciate you saying that. I think it's so important to create that space. And yes, there are some people that doesn't work for. When you think about all of those places that you've been and the projects and the teams and everything that you've produced, is there a moment in time that you would go back to yourself, but knowing what you know now? And if there is, what would you say to yourself?
Oh God, what a wonderful question. Blimey, I don't know. Do you know, I don't know, even if I had the opportunity to do that, if I would listen, because 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 I'm an Aries and I'm very bloody minded, and you can't tell me anything, even from my own head. So, I think that my life has been a real journey of finding myself, and um I know that even if I went back to my 20s and said, look, this, that, or the other, I don't think it would have resonated. I don't think it would mean anything to me at that time, because I was looking for meaning, and um I was looking for my own identity. I was looking for my purpose. I I didn't know who I was, and I didn't know how to express myself, and I didn't know what I was. So, and I had that throughout my childhood, my teen years, and into my 20s. So, um, I think that the only thing that might have worked is if I. So I'm trying to, like, even if I thought, I was about to say I could have just gone back and said go to therapy, but I don't even know if that would have worked at the time, and because I was investigating so many different kind of aspects of my life that have led me here today. If I went back to change something or gave myself advice, I don't think I'd be what I am today. So I wouldn't take the opportunity, because I because I know myself, and I would have told myself to F off, which is pretty much what I did to everyone in my 20s. Like, you don't know me, you don't know anything about me. I know what I'm doing, had no idea what I was doing. But the journey that I've taken through leadership and mentoring others is also part of my own self-mentorship. So leading people the way that I wish I'd been led, or mentoring people in the way that I wish I'd been mentored, um, is my journey, and that's kind of that's it for me. That's the that's the it's cemented for, it's the building block of my life of where I am today. So, um, very long way of saying, like, I don't think I would.
Mm. I love the power in that. I love the self, like you said, the self mentorship. I love that. That's really, really powerful. And I think that's something that I'm getting a bit choked up. I think it's something that is really, really important, and it's so easy for us as leaders to, we've reached this point where we have a responsibility to look after our team. So
Yeah,
most of the time, that means we've done a good job. We know our craft. We've worked hard, and we've progressed, through the ranks, and we've got to this position. We now have this responsibility, and so we focus on that because, despite what the media tells us, 99.9% of people are good, are
yeah,
inherently good people,
yeah,
and so we're in a leadership position. We see these people depending on us, and so we pour everything into supporting them and looking after them and doing whatever we can. If if you're that way inclined, right?
yeah,
But we so often forget to look at what we need for ourselves. That when I was younger, I had such an issue with that whole idea of put the gas mask on yourself before you put it on those around you, or
yeah,
the air, the oxygen mask. I had such an issue with that, and now it has become so clear to me the importance of that, because when you think in that emergency situation, putting the mask on yourself is a split second, and then you can get straight on with helping somebody else.
yeah,
And when you apply that as an overall kind of rule to your life, yes, there'll be times when putting the oxygen mask on yourself is going to take a hell of a lot longer than a split second. Might be
yeah,
therapy, might be self-mentorship, might be whatever it is. But how on earth are you expected to look after somebody else if you're not looking after yourself? So
yeah.
I think that's a wonderful, wonderful approach that you've outlined, and I really appreciate um, your candidness in talking about that. I'd love to know, when you think about all the work, all the projects, everything that you've put out into the world from a work perspective, what are you most proud of?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Um, I feel like when I think about that question in my head, my visual is this kind of network of almost like linked stars of people, and and I think that it that's the thing that I'm most proud of. So, of all the content people that I've ever worked with, and the connections that we've made, the differences that we've made, and the emotional roller coasters that we've been on together, that's the thing that I'm most proud of, because content can be overwritten and it probably is by now. There's proud moments in terms of, if I have to be really specific to work, it's showcasing how content designers think, how content designers can shed light on the usual type of frictions that you can't see maybe as a designer in your workflows, etc., etc. And those are really lovely moments of aha-ness for other people, not for the content designers, because they already know. So they do. So it's bringing people on the journey with you. But they're not my most proudest moments. I think it's things like knowing there's a really brilliant content designer that is also a very close friend of mine that I've worked with since I was at EE. Her name's Steph Cox. She's now head of at, I think, Virgin Money, I think it is. But being part of her journey and being someone that I'm emotionally connected to, and that we've been through so much together, that's one of my proud moments, for example.
Oh,
We have got a stake in each other's lives. For me, that goes beyond anything that I would do on a Figma or, write in a copy doc or anything. It just
mm,
doesn't, it just does not match up. So my proudest moments are being allowed to um, be part of people's lives at work.
um, I love that. I know you mentor as well, like as someone who mentors and coaches. Um, that that relationship, that mentee mentor or coachee relationship, is exactly that. Is a point in time. Even if you lose contact, there is still always that point where you helped each other. That's all. To me, it's always a two-way thing. You always learn from each other.
Yeah.
And so there, I think back of the people that I've mentored or coached, and I can I can feel the connections, and I can feel where we have stepped each other up. within
Yeah.
that, and that will always be there. So I think that's a really beautiful answer in terms of something you're proud of for work.
Yeah, the thing is, when you, I think that there's a there's a space for when you build trust with people, and this is my personal, very personal perspective, is when people in your team will push back on you or question something that you're doing. If if you're in if I'm in a situation where my team are somewhat strangers to me, we're not quite connected, it can be a defensive situation in a way. I'm like, why are you saying this to me? Where are you coming from? What's going on here? And then my own internal monologue of, do they think I'm shit at my job? Or who do they think they are? Or whatever the hell goes on in your head when you're feeling defensive, and when I feel defensive. So the situations where I can mention, it's the people. It's not just, me helping them do their job. It definitely isn't that. It goes exactly to what you're saying, is that when they have the comfort to push back and I have the comfort to accept that pushback, that I don't put it into a place in my brain where it's defensive or it's aggressive or it's whatever else my brain wants it to be that's negative. It's then, I'm working with you, and you're also teaching me. If you
Mm,
can question my decisions or my leadership, or you can ask me more about it in a very candid way, that gives me space to have, why did I make that decision actually? I thought it was a good idea. Do you not think it's a good idea? No, I don't think it's a good idea because of this or that. I thought, well, maybe I didn't think of that, or whatever the situation may be. And that's where I think the power really happens. It's
mm,
not just about, like you said, it's not a one-way street. Um, and that's, I think, I still have pride in that. I still hold so much in that value. The value in that is immense. I have that with my team at the moment. So, and I don't wish that to ever go away, because I enjoy that. I enjoy being kind of, I guess, mentally prodded, because I want to learn every day. Um,
mm.
and sometimes it can be challenging when you're trying to fix things or change things, or do strategy, like what did I get out today? I'm not too sure, but my team will always keep me grounded.
I like that. There's always a tension in a creative conversation. That doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing, but there is always a question and ask, two-way question and ask kind of tension as we're working through projects. And you're absolutely right. When you reach a point where you and your team, there is obviously still a structure to the team. There's obviously still a hierarchy, but it's not. There's no rigidity in that in terms of ego. It's about, okay, how can we work together to get the best result for the client, the user, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And um, and I've forgotten completely where I was going to go with this, but it was brilliant wherever it was.
I can I can give you an example from yesterday. So I was one of my team, her name's Nicola. I was asking her to read through a deck that I created to make sure that it was made it contextually correct. And sometimes when I'm thinking and writing, I will style things in certain ways, like not using sentence case when I'm supposed to, putting full stops at the end of sentences where they shouldn't be, and none of it being consistent. But like, I have a joke with her. I was like, I am consistently inconsistent. I know, I
Right.
know, I know that everything I've done is incorrect. But she'll pull me up on it. She goes, "You're driving me crazy with your sentence case." I know, but it's just something that I've had from, I don't even know what year it was where we had to do it. And now we don't do it. So but I don't feel like I've done something wrong, which is something you think, again, is one of my internal voices that I'm always trying to fight. It's like, what have I done now? What have I done that's wrong? Why, being wrong has been a real driver of my persona throughout the entirety of my life. And so having the comfort of just being me and not being perfect and making mistakes, even if it is a spelling mistake in the content, that perfectionism, removal of that perfectionism, and allowing myself to just be my authentic, chaotic self is something that I have such high value for. It's something that helps me to bring my own best self to work, so that there is a balance there. It's not just about me making space for that team. That team have made space for me,
Oh,
and that is something that it's not easy to find. It really
oh.
isn't. And I'm so grateful for it, because it makes my everyday of going to work so much more wonderful. And yeah, grateful, very grateful.
I've often felt, like for a long time, I've often felt that the ability for a leader to put their hand up and say, you know what, I don't have an answer for that. Let's figure it out together,
Yeah,
is the bedrock of creating that environment where you can be vulnerable. It's not unprofessional to be vulnerable. It's not unprofessional to say, I don't know the answer to that. Let's figure it out. And by the same token, once you become practiced at that, the ability to spot experience or skill that one of your team members has that you don't, and to go to them proactively and say, that's awesome. How did you do that? Can you show me? I'd love
yeah,
to learn that. There's such encouragement in that. There's such mutual respect and understanding. I always say, whenever I'm working with a client for a new time, I always say, look, I take pride in what I do, but I'm not precious. Meaning, I
yeah,
want critique, I want to hear your response. It's then up to me to control my internal ego response,
yeah,
especially in the beginning stages, because there will be times when there's something they say that rubs me the wrong way. And I've discovered through painful experience, there's absolutely 0 point in letting that internal ego response rule you for the work and what you're doing.
yeah,
Way easier said than done. But, you know, you have to get to a point where that's not in the way, so that you can have that free flow, two-way, respectful free flow. Um, and I think I've found for me, the biggest indicator that I've reached that point with a client is when I'm able to hear them say, I'll know it when I see it, and it doesn't drive me insane. Because at that point, I realize, okay, I understand and I respect your expertise in whatever area, service, product your business operates in. And you're respecting my expertise in saying, I'll know it when I see it. What they're
yeah.
actually saying is, I have faith in you to get there. I just can't communicate it. I don't have the words to say what is in my head, but I know you'll get there. And when I see that you've got there, then I'll tell you.
No,
And it's a reframing of that. Often, I think creatives feel or designers feel like that phrase from a client is a death knell of a project, and I don't
yeah,
think it has to be. I think that's
no,
the start of finding mutual trust. We talked about the things that you're proud of.
yeah.
For a moment, I would like to look at a slightly different angle. And if there's a moment, a choice, a decision, a project that didn't go quite according to plan, and what did you learn from that?
It's a good question. I've listened to your other podcast and I've heard you answer this question. I don't know if I've got an answer to it. Um, I don't know if I can't think of anything monumental that didn't go according to plan. Not because everything goes according to plan, but I've in the last, I don't know, maybe seven odd years, I've somehow, somewhat, not somehow, but somewhat detached myself from the ownership of work. And I don't mean that I'm not taking accountability for my work, but when I was in my younger days, and my entire there was a kind of it was debilitating factor of work, of owning it. I've made this, I own it, it's mine, it belongs to me. We're actually removing that has allowed my mistakes to happen much more fluidly. Not to say that they happen all the time, but allowing them to happen. So um,
Yeah.
it's that kind of attachment to you put a lot of work in, emotional work, to put things together, even putting, huge decks together, and someone will come along and go, well, I think we only need 3 of these slides, or that's rubbish, or this is not good, or, however it might be phrased. But trying to allow trying to allow space to not be attached is something that's allowed me to not dwell on the things that don't work out so well. So in the last few years, I think my roles have been very much like you mentioned earlier, fixing. So trial and error was always part of that. We can try this, it might not work. We'll try that, it might not work. Let's have a go at this, it might not work. So I would say that's happened quite a lot in my current role, trying to figure out what the shape of content strategy is at RackBank, to fit RackBank and to make sure that RackBank understands what it wants from content, has been an entire year of trial and error and change and trying to, I guess, make something stick. I've been through loads of phases where things haven't worked out. But I think because I'm used to chaos, I kind of go, okay, fine, we'll try something else. It's not great when that happens often, because obviously you have to take your team with you on this journey of, "Oh, we're going to try this now for this quarter. Actually, we're pivoting and we're trying this for this quarter. Oh no, we're pivoting again. We're trying that for this quarter." It disillusions people, right? It doesn't help people think you've got a strategy, or that they're valued, or that you know what you're doing. And that's something that comes, I think, part and parcel of when things don't go so well. But when they happen often and regularly, it has other impacts, which I'm far more conscious of than a bit of a, oh, this didn't go so well. So I can't think of anything specific from a project perspective to answer your question, is where I'm going with this. Yeah, I don't know if I've got an answer apart from that answer.
I think that's a perfectly valid answer, and I think you're right. Maybe this is a little cliched, but I feel it genuinely, that everything has helped you reach that point where a pivot or something not going quite right doesn't knock you off your feet. It's okay. That's a moment where we need to change course a little bit. We need to change the strategy. We need to uh, um, we're going on a slightly different direction.
Yeah.
We've been here before. We can work with that.
It definitely is something that I can vibe with quite easily out of experience. Then I do sometimes question myself, am I being too complicit to this scenario? Could I have done something more? Could I have driven something harder? Could I have, pushed for something more? And I think that, and then I go into that realm of my own kind of insecurities, or, am I doing the right thing? Am I good enough? Is this what people want? So, it can be, it, it's a very it's a very complex ball of fun that isn't always fun, but I keep trying. And I think that for my role here, it has been an exercise of trying to find the holes and trying to find the shape that correspond with those holes, because it's not just square peg round hole scenario. Because the company is transforming and because the company is going through so much change, um, and we have to go along with the wave of change, but we also have to make sure that what we're trying to do has value, and what we're trying to do from a content strategy perspective works for the company. And I know that sounds really basic, but in the region, content design is not very well advocated for or understood. So I'm kind of going back in time a little bit with trying to make the concept work. But maybe advocacy isn't what's required here. Maybe it's something a little bit different. So I have tried the advocacy route. I've tried the education route. I've tried a few other things, and they haven't failed massively, but they've had lower impact than I was hoping for. So pivoting on how do we approach content for what's required for right now has been something that is my trial and error. And it's not, I think I'm being quite flippant. It's like, oh yeah, I could just ride the wave of up and down. It's not been easy. Some of it's been really fun, and some of it's been absolutely not fun at all. And it's, questioning myself, my identity, my purpose, all those kind of things. There's been tears, and there's been kind of like, what am I doing? Kind of like, do they even want me in this job? But I feel like I'm on a trajectory of positivity now. The changes that have happened, I think, for myself and my team have been hard, but they feel like they're going in the right direction. So that's that. That's the end of that thought. I don't know where I wanted to go with that. Sorry.
Long may that wave, that trajectory of positivity continue. And on a similar note, and kind of coming back from learning when something didn't go according to plan, what are you most proud of outside of work?
Oh, another juicy question to answer. Thank you. Can you give me a sec? I don't know. The reason why I think I struggle to answer that question is because I don't often allow myself to be proud of myself. So I'm trying to think back of moments in my life where I've kind of thought, wow, that was great, and then attach pride to it or feeling proud of myself. And I don't think I've allowed myself to do that enough. And which is why I'm struggling to um find an answer to that question. But I think resilience is one of the things that I can be proud about. And and whether I've, invited chaos into my life or whether I've chosen it or, walked into it, the resilience is something that does stand out for me. So, even even with, like I mentioned, I broke my ankle. I was I was unable to walk from the end of February of that year until about mid-June. So I was in a bed for a really long period of time. And I think that I don't know if it's my resilience or just I don't know how if it's the ability to deal with nothing, boredom quite easily, and not be affected by it was something that I guess maybe not a lot of people could do because often if I tell that story to people go well what did you do I would just go absolutely insane like how did you manage it and I don't know how I managed it but I don't remember and I'm even trying to think about it now I don't remember I don't feel like I've got a shudder in my system when I think about it I just remember being there lying there but not feeling I don't remember the feelings of it. So I feel like that's resilience for me. Like
Mm.
I don't map back to that as the one of the darkest moments of my life. And even though, it wasn't the most fun. And I think there's lots of instances of that where I've been through these um episodes of chaos and sometimes quite traumatic chaos and I'm still here. I think there's going to be a lot of people that will resonate with that. I've mentioned my childhood quite a lot. I think, one of the things I've learned as an adult and way too late actually was that my trauma as a child being brought up in a very traditional Indian household, in West London is something that patterns across lots of, British Indian people and only recognized that and only understood that when I was much older. And you hear people talking about their stories, which is, the wonderful nature of social media. The great side of it is when you hear other people's stories and you go, hang on a second, that happened in my house. Hang on a second, that's what my dad used to say to me. And hang on a second, what do you mean you had the same experience? And those things have helped me understand that I've, although it affected me deeply and it has, had is a pattern that still exists in my everyday today, is something that I made it through it. I was resilient through it. It affected me, but I'm still here and I've worked through it. And I think if all the situations of my life, that is the thing that will always stand out, that I somehow get through it, somehow fix myself, or somehow I'm not affected by it, and somehow still skipped having a massive therapy bill. So it's okay.
That the idea of sheer resilience and determination, but wrapped up in, oh, it's nothing. Oh, this is just what I do. It like resonates with me so deeply because maybe because it is so much effort, maybe because it has been so difficult, it's easier to not acknowledge how difficult it has been to just keep going.
Yeah.
I'm talking for me, I'm not putting words in your mouth,
No,
but
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you.
so, I understand that answer on many levels. So, and I appreciate you again being so open with it. And I think a lot of people listening or watching that will also resonate with as well. The internal drive to just resist giving in and keep going
Yeah.
because that's what we do. And yeah, I think there'll be a lot of people listening right now who will be nodding along and feeling very seen or heard.
I think that's again, sharing stories is I've recognized so much for myself and nodded along to so many things as well that I've heard. And like I said, it's just it helps to not feel like your story is isolated to you. You know, when I was when I was growing up, my life was like, why? I guess it was the tone was, why is this happening to me? You know, why me? That those are the kind of things that I would have kind of in my understanding of my life. And as you grow up, you learn, you listen, you share, you realize that that's not the truth. You know, the truth isn't as stark as you think, you know, is this is just my story, but your story will mimic someone else's story, and some, you know, parts of it will mimic someone else's. And when you see that pattern, you realize that your experience, whether you share it or not, is shared, and you are
Mm,
connected to people whether you know them or not.
mm,
And the power that that has to take away that isolation has been really important in my life as well, because feeling stuck in a story, especially if it's negative and has a negative impact on your life, can ruin your life because you can't see a way out of it. Um, so yeah, hopefully it does nod a few heads somewhere.
which kind of leads nicely into the next question, and really maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's different, but what would you hope for people listening or watching this episode to take away from it?
Um, I think that if it's anything, it's just if we have a shared experience, a shared way of being, a shared way of thinking. I think that for anyone potentially trying to get into leadership and not sure what that means for them, to know that you can shape it yourself. You can read 100 books if you want to, but you define the experience. And if you can sense that that's what I've done with my management pathway, my leadership pathway, um, then you have an opportunity to touch the life of someone else, you know, in your future and futures beyond. So don't not allow yourself to not be authentic. Very inarticulately put. Bring your authentic self to work, because when you find out what that is for you, then you will thrive and you will have the best time ever.
Mm, yeah, I think that brings us nicely back to that idea that everything we do as leaders is two-way. So
Yeah.
when you find what authenticity means for you, that helps unlock how you interact with others, but also how you allow them to interact with yourself. It means you can you'd be much better prepared to set healthy boundaries and stick with them and welcome in and invite in critique in a way. And I mean that in a work perspective, not that
Yeah.
someone should
Yeah.
come and
Yeah.
critique your life, but we're at the end of the episode. We're at the
Okay.
final question. It's the same final question that I ask every single guest. Are you still awaiting approval?
Do you know what? It's such a big question. Yeah, do you know what? I can't say that I don't. I think I do. I'm still someone who's I don't want to say flawed because that feels so negative, but I'm still, I've still got my internal battles. I've still got, my emotions and my insecurities that I need to work through on a daily basis. And there are certain points in my life where I still feel that I need validation and approval. But there are so many areas that I don't. And I'm working on it. And I think I'll be working on it for quite some time. And that's okay for me because that's just me. That's how I work. And even though it is the case, it doesn't mean that I'm not happy and I'm not fulfilled. It's just, this is my path.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Hema, this is your time to let people know how they can get in contact with you, anything else that you'd like to share, and where they can find you online.
Okay. Well, I think the best place is LinkedIn. So if you've got any questions, if you want to get in touch, LinkedIn is the best place. Thank you.
Fantastic. Hema, this has been an amazing episode, so full of heart and vulnerability. I really appreciate your candidness and your openness. I feel sure that people will get a hell of a lot from this. So thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Thank you. It's been harder than I thought it was because I think you think you know the answer to questions, but then when you're asked, your brain goes blank. But it's certainly been an emotional journey that I should have been expecting to go on because I listened to a few of your previous podcasts. But I think it's been enjoyable and very reflective. So thank you.
Good. You're welcome. I'm sorry it was harder than you were expecting, but I'm so glad that you've shared what you have because I think it will be incredibly helpful for a lot of people.
Thank you.
If today's conversation got you thinking about your own growth as a creative leader, then my program, Supercharge Creative Leaders, might well be the next step for you. It's a 4-week cohort designed to help those in leadership positions and those aspiring to be in the leadership positions to lead at a world-class level. You'll learn how to communicate with impact, grow your confidence, and lead teams that thrive, all without losing your creativity. It's a mix of pre-recorded video sessions, live Q&As with me and the rest of your cohort, and an incredible community of peers who will support you along the way. People who've already been through the course have gone on to win new roles, land promotions, get huge multi-million-dollar pitches, and they all put it down to the course and the confidence it gave them. So if you're ready to get noticed, get promoted, or finally step into that dream role, join the next cohort. Head to growwithadamjennings.com and sign up to Supercharged Creative Leaders. I can't wait to start working with you. Awaiting Approval is a Cordial Fox production, hosted by Adam Jennings, produced by Adam Jennings and Jasmine Egner.